This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach. Okay. Okay, everybody, hello and welcome to Daily with Doc. Let's go ahead and open up that Zoom room and let people in out of the waiting room as we are here on Daily with Doc and Becca. And today, the doc that we have with us is Dr. Cara Ringland, who is a naturopath and iridologist. So I'm super excited for today's show. I hope you are as well, because as we look into the eyes, it tells us a little bit different than what is seen from the outside, or maybe even what is felt, at least what we think we feel. So today's going to be an exciting program as we have a set of anonymous eyes that we're going to be looking at, getting some recommendations from Dr. Cara, who just got back from an iridologist conference. So with this training, I know with training for me, it just brings a whole new excitement and just refreshes what I already know and brings more into it that I am able to share with each and every one of you. So she's going to be able to do that with us too. Now, for those of you who are here because somebody invited you, we want to make sure that you get back with that person that invited you. If you have any questions whatsoever in regards to what you hear today, or what you can do to help yourself nutritionally in creating a better health journey. So that person that invited you, that's your first point of contact. For those who found this program on their own, or they've never spoken to anybody, they've never taken ordered from the companies that we recommend here, then feel free to give our call team a call at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. So this program is being sponsored by dailywithdoc.com, where we have replays of our previous programming. Thank you. And also we have a store. We have some articles that give more information that could be very helpful for you or a loved one. So please check out our website, dailywithdoc.com. Now, without further ado, I am excited to bring this to the screen with me, Dr. Cara Ringland. Dr. Cara, she is self-employed at Iridology Analysis. She is affiliate instructor at Spirit Wind School of Thai Massage. She has studied reflexology, iridology, bioenergy, and nutrition at the International Iridology as an international iridology practitioner. She's also studied and state certified as a therapeutic massage therapist. She has studied radical therapy, life coaching, and also she has studied craniosacral, which is one thing that I found a whole lot of benefit from. So you're bringing a lot to the table, Dr. Cara, when we have you here, when it comes to quote unquote non-traditional therapeutics options. Yeah. Which, when you think about it, they're not alternative. They're the original things that happened before allopathic medicine came. So, Dr. Cara, welcome to Daily with Doc. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And I'm excited for what we're going to be presenting with what we see through the eyes, what they tell about what we have inherited, and then nutritional things that we can do to support the things that may be going on within the body, because the eyes are like the window to our body and what's going on. So take it away. I'm going to let you share some more. I know you've got an amazing presentation for us today.
Well, I am delighted to be here again. Thank you so much, Becca, and your team. It's been a delight to be able to share everything it's been an affirmation of a lot of my life experiences as I've been here in Southern California, reconnecting with many of my iridology colleagues. I want to say hello to Dr. Ellen Jensen, who is my esteemed instructor, and she is the leading researcher globally for iridology. And so I am so honored to bring that wisdom here to the forefront as we are in a whole generation of ailments that are really facing our young people as well as our old people. So today I wanted to zero in on iridology. It's a kind of an unknown word. And so for me, I look at iridology, I want to bring the awareness around it like we have around aromatherapy or homeopathy. We have so many natural modalities for us. The thing about iridology that makes it unique is it's more of a non-invasive way at looking at the structure and the genetic potentials and predispositions of a body. With that information, one can utilize it to have a strategy for accessing different possibilities, whether it is using it for knowing what body therapies you need, what nutrition, what supplementation is necessary. So a lot of the times when we're getting into natural health, there's so much information out there. It can be a little bit blinding and confusing. So what we've discovered with iridology is each person is such an individual that you can tailor your natural health plan according to your divine design. Your genetic information is revealed in the patterns, the shapes, the colors, and the textures that are stored within the iris of the eye. One thing we know is that the iris is a thumbprint of information. We're now using it throughout all of scientific analysis to be able to identify your genetics, just like your thumbprint, your ID, right? So it never changes. It's unique unto you as an individual. There are no two sets of eyes that are identical, even in sets of twins.
Now I have a question.
Yes.
How does this relate to epigenetics, which Dr. Wallach is one of the founding fathers of? Because you're talking about predisposition and genetics. How does epigenetics pull into this?
So that's why I'm so delighted to participate in this network with Dr. Wallach and his product line as well, because even Dr. Jensen, it's the one product line she actually really promotes and is a huge, I mean, the whole time we were in our conference, we were covering different longevity products that are proven to assist the body. Now, when it comes to epigenetics, when we understand what we've inherited genetically speaking, then we have a user's manual, so to speak. Oh, we understand that maybe I need to support my digestive system because my great grandparents or my mother or father had difficult digestion. If there was diabetes signs that you can see in the eyes, you can inquire about the health of your genetics, your family, and you can understand if that's a precursor, if that's what they've experienced, you're set up for it. Now, the difference is we are learning that we are good stewards of our body temple, that we can actually change the environment, change our futures by taking good care of our physical vessel. So at Body Temple Health, that's what we are teaching because the word doctor means teacher. So we are here to teach the people how to care for their physical vessels, their body temples, so that they can live a life that is fulfilling, that is full of fruits of their spirit, so that they can be without pain. You think about dis-ease. The word itself means that we are out of ease, out of balance. So iridology specifically helps you identify your body systems as a holistic vessel, how they're affecting each other, and how you can support the different systems so that you have a whole healthy body. When we look at the eyes, the actual pattern of the iris is your genetic pattern. You were born with that. That was developed in utero. It has all of your genetic information in there, including your personality and how you process things emotionally. So we can use that alongside of the iridology with the patterns and genetics. But the RAID model covers personality. And when you're really trying to make change, not to a blanket statement doesn't always work for somebody. Sometimes people need a different approach for their emotional personality quality, how they process information. Some people are really driven. They need a rigorous plan. In fact, they enjoy having a big calendar and they want to always feel like they're doing a lot. Other people really need it to be calm. They get confused, they get stressed if they have too much going on. So the beauty with iridology is we can really identify the quality of how someone can process the new information that they're receiving. And so the whites of the eyes is called sclerology, which is where we see more current inflammation. So the iris itself is your genetic thumbprint with information. It's your user's manual. It's your blueprint. It shows you, it's like your script. It shows you what role you're going to play potentially as an actor or an actress on stage, right? But just like Dr. Wallach's book, Epigenetics, discusses, each actor, actress can take the script and personalize it. And that's what we're doing when we become aware. We can make the choices, we can have the actions, the words, the deeds that support our physical vessel. So in my book, Awaken and Become a Tree of Life, I co-authored with Dr. Christine Maxwell. We really zeroed in on the three primary types of eyes that are displayed by the color. Little did you know, there's actually only three predominant colors that we separate them by in our different systems. So we have the blue eye, which we call the lymphatic eye. That's my eye. We tend to be governed by the genetics of the lymphatic system. So swelling, maybe skin issues, arthritic conditions tend to accompany the lymphatic type. Okay. And then we have the brown eye. The true brown eye is a hematogenic iris. Hematogenic is hema, meaning it's actually governed by the blood systems. So we find a lot of people with hypertension, blood pressure issues, perhaps cholesterol issues, maybe even some of the issues like diabetes, gout. Little did you know, gout is actually related to high uric acid in the blood. So when we look at that, we can see the governing systems of the body. Now, the third type is called biliary. And this is the one that is the mixed color. So the blue and the brown connected over all of time. And we've created a variety of colors. We'll often call them hazel or other tones, light brown, but usually it's blue eyes with layers of pigmentation laid over the top. And this iris is governed by the bile system, the biliary, the digestive system. So when we look at digestion, there's several different steps. First is the mouth, where we chew our food. This prepares it for the stomach. The stomach does not have teeth, right? So we have to break the food into smaller particles. In our mouth, the saliva also treats it with an amylase, digestive enzyme, which is most important for starches and carbohydrates. Once it goes down into this stomach, this is where hydrochloric acid, betaine, pancreatin work really well to break the food down into smaller pieces, basically compost it a little bit. Now, once it travels out of the stomach, it's treated through the pancreas and the bile ducts, right? With the more pancreatin and bile, where now it breaks down the carbohydrates and the fats so that we can actually, it's almost like making a tea out of your food so that your villi and your small intestine can absorb the nutrients and uptake it into the blood so it can be distributed throughout the body to all the organs. Now, the blood also picks up toxins, metabolic toxins. When we're creating and producing things, we have off-gassing essentially from each organ. And so the blood picks that up as well. Then the liver has to process those toxins, predominantly uric acid from the food, or if we're in exposure to chemicals, toxins in environment and whatnot. So the liver is really important in this whole system because it's our blood filter. It's also the distributor. It manages where these metabolic toxins go. So carbon dioxide goes out through the lungs. Uric acid has to be removed from the blood to maintain homeostasis. Otherwise, we'd end up having a heart attack. So the liver pushes it out predominantly through the colon, through the kidneys. So urine is actually filtered blood. So we need a lot of water to make sure that the uric acid in the blood stays in solution and goes out through the urine. Now, the skin is also a huge part of our detoxification organ. It's the largest living organ that we have, and it's called the third kidney because it also processes a lot of uric acid. Dr. Jensen was telling me just this weekend about a man who had been burned over 2/3 of his body. And when that burn affected his skin, his kidneys shut down and he died of uremic poisoning. So our skin, we think of it as this, kind of a layer, like a plastic coating on a new toy. But no, it's actually a breathing, living, porous vessel. It emotes. It emits. So when you get ash on your skin, dry skin, that's actually uric acid being emitted out of the body. So we teach a lot about this for you to understand that each type is governed by the digestive system, 100%. Each type, however, accumulates metabolic toxins a little bit more and processes it more, say, through the blood for the hematogenics, through the lymphatic system for the lymphatic type, and the digestive system for the biliary type. So it's so fascinating because no two eyes are the same. So no program is exactly the same. For the most part, why I call my book Awaken and Become a Tree of Life, Always Be Cleansing. It's the ABCs of self-care, which means we need to clean our home, our body temple, every day. This isn't just a seasonal thing. We need to support our bowels, our kidneys, our skin, our lungs, and care for our livers. And the most of all, we need to make good food choices. And of course, we're living in a very denatured planet. All of our soil has been changed a lot. As Dr. Wallach goes into great detail, the minerals have been stripped from the earth. Those minerals are vital to actually creating flavor, like MSM, methyl sulfur. It actually goes into the soil. And if you've noticed, good soil plants like tomatoes have a stronger flavor if you've made them or grown them in your backyard due to good soil. Most food is processed commercially and grown commercially. It can't get the care and the love that any small-time farmer can give to its food. And it's laden with pesticides, chemicals, all these things. So with our program, the most important part is food is your first medicine, making sure you get good food, making sure you wash your vegetables and your fruits, especially if you're eating them raw, to kill off any kind of fungus, bacteria, and especially parasites. So here in the Western world, a lot of the allopathic community stopped talking about parasites and started treating symptoms. We want to remember that our entire body is reflecting kind of like if we were a planet, right? Then we need to start thinking about the pollution on our planet and making sure that we're feeding organic food to the oceans of our planet. And that's my call to people. We all talk about cleaning up the earth, ending, pollution. Let's start with our physical vessels, because that which we eat converts into our cells. It creates a sanctuary for us to live in. Otherwise, we're distracted by pain, disease, discomfort. Okay. And that's why I feel in order to strive after spiritual enlightenment is an active choice to enlighten oneself, to invoke light into ourselves, not only through what we eat, but what we speak to illuminate others. One thing I have discovered is with the plan that we can work with, and that's why I'm excited to talk about Dr. Wallach's product line today also, because most of his products work to supplement what we can't get out of nature right now. I'm sorry to say, again, the food is denatured. We are inundated with pollution and preservatives and chemicals and toxins. Our digestive system has been compromised since before our birth because of now 3, 4, 5 generations of people eating processed foods. And that's what we talk about with the epigenetic study with Pottinger's cats, if you caught that episode, is the fact that within 3 to 5 generations, when eating pasteurized, homogenized, canned food, preserved foods, then the genetic code of the vessel has become so compromised that we're dealing with fertility issues. This was reflected in a study on the cats back in 1960s. And now what we're seeing is a development of it within the human race. Okay. So when we are out of balance and we are inheriting poor genetics and then eating the same foods that our parents were eating, because it's not just the genetics we inherit, it's the lifestyle we inherit. So making change is about making habits, okay, habit stacking, and being conscious and awake And a lot of this, I know, is a really difficult transition. I've gone through a lot with my own physical body, and I feel like a living experiment to learn how to turn that runaway train around when it's poor eating habits, poor thinking habits. Okay. When you have addictions to food, substance, people, toxic situations, it's a pattern. Most of us are in states of behavior that just are unconscious. We've eaten a bag of chips before we realized we opened it. We're watching shows for 3 hours and say we never have time, right? This is a sense of being out of awareness. So when we look at the eyes, Hippocrates said, behold the eyes, behold the body. Okay. In the Gospel of Luke, it talks about let the eyes be the lamp unto the whole body. Let thine eyes be full of light. Okay. And if you've ever seen a sick child, a dog, they have glassy, weepy eyes, and you can see the soul and the spirit essentially is sad. It's not well. The eyes speak volumes, not only in the expression, but as we're discovering now more and more with iridology. So if you want to pull up the map to iridology, I'll just give you a little understanding. It is basically showing you much like reflexology. So if you understand reflexology, all nerve endings come off of the spinal column, all right? If you look at a picture of the spinal column, every vertebrae is attached to different organs because those nerves come out and go to the organ and return. Well, they also go to different nerve endings. So we have in the nerve endings are in the hands, the feet, the tongue, the eyes, the ears. There's a multiple little, it's almost like a holographic image being replicated over and over throughout our body. The top of the hand is typically associated with the eyes here on the tips of these fingers, the ears here, and the brain in the thumb. Then you have the digestive system that's running around the palm, okay? It's this, and the right hand reflects the right side of the body. The left hand reflects the left side of the body. The same is such here in the iris. So if you'll see this chart, we have it very colorful to help us understand the different zones of the eye. So if you were to look at the cross section of a tree, we've all seen that before. You have the center that's really dark. That's where the pulp is. That's where they call it the xylem cells. Those cells uptake nutrition from the roots and distribute it up the trunk of the tree to the leaves. Now you have the phloem cells that are outside of that dark inner ring, and those cells distribute oxygen or carbon dioxide from the leaves back down to the roots. So it's much the same way in the iris, as well as the bark. The bark is significantly known as the skin of the tree. So the outside ring of the iris, where it meets the white of the eye, is the zone of the skin. So we can see different organ systems displayed in the iris. So there's patterns that may occur where there's like a loosening of fibers. It looks like a little lake. And so, and the iridology term is called lacuna, which is a German word for lake. And it simply means that the tissue integrity is reduced there. And that's where, for me, I have a zone in the upper area of my left eye. I also have a lake in my right eye associated predominantly to my lungs. So my lungs were my nurture point throughout my whole childhood. And let me tell you, Rebecca, I've reversed my genetic codes. When I was 12, I was covered in hives, really unhealthy, overweight, depressed little girl. And that's the first time I went to meet a naturopath because we'd tried all the allopathic things and nothing was working. I was on prednisone and then I was on 6 and 7 Benadryl a day. I was drugged and so unhealthy. When we realized that I did an allergy test and I was severely allergic with blood work to egg whites, dairy, wheat, rye, even beef, goat milk, nutritional yeast. I couldn't eat anything. And over the years of cleansing my body, changing my nutrition, and high levels of supplementation, we call it nutraceutical. Because if you're in a deficiency in your nutrition and you have not enough nutrients, you're playing catch up. Even with good food, it's just catch up. It's kind of like your 9 to 5, your monthly check. You're covering the bases, but you're never getting ahead. Okay. And consequently, a lot of times you're in fight or flight. Your body, your digestive system is still nutrient deficient and is still suffering. So I just had my allergy blood panels done last summer. I'm not allergic to anything. Okay. I did pollens, I did nutrition, I did everything. I'm not allergic anymore because I've reversed it. All right. I've reversed the damages in my DNA essentially by giving the body what it needs, cleansing out the old. I tried not doing that for a while. I just kept buying the supplements and eating the fancy things, but it's like putting clean water into a dirty cup. All right. We've got to clean the vessel first. Then we can uptake all of that good nutrition and really utilize it. So I'm excited to look at our analysis today, and we have some anonymous eyes we want to look at. And I will give a brief analysis about that, and we can go from there. So this is a beautiful set of eyes. We are looking at a lymphatic eye, actually, believe it or not. So lymphatic is governing the lymph system here. And that's perfect, guys. So you would not believe that because this eye has what appears to be either a green or a hazel color. But what we look at here is that we call it stroma. So it's the layer of fibers, nerve fibers that go to and from the pupil, bringing nerve energy. Above that is where pigment gets overlaid. And according to iridology, it's the understanding that that pigment is almost like a little umbrella trying to protect certain areas from too much sunlight. Okay. So the sunlight may be overactivating an area, so the pigment kind of shows up to protect it. It's also a biofeedback. So it's explaining what happened throughout generations. So in this eye, we have a blue eye with overlays of yellow pigment, which if you played with color crayons will look green if you do blue with yellow. And what does yellow mean? So we understand that the lymphatic iris deals with lymphatic congestion. It tends to deal with skin irritations, autoimmune issues, arthritic symptoms, a lot of swelling, sometimes a lot of acne and issues. Now, add the yellow pigment. The yellow indicates urinary tract issues, kidney insufficiencies. Okay. So in this iris, I would ask the patient or the client if they've had any kind of kidney issues in their family history, or if they've had any issues with kidney stones, things like that. I would also inquire, because of the close relationship to the skin, about skin health. Have they had inflammation in the skin, rashes, eczema, psoriasis, acne? Do they have fatty cysts or what feels like little lumps? And you can also see that there is a darker ring around the exterior of the iris, right next to the white of the eye, which is called a scurf rim in iridology, which indicates reduced resiliency in the skin. So I would imagine that the genetics of this person has a family that has had issues with both the skin, the kidneys, and we see that there's a very definitive darker pigment right around the pupil in the center, okay? That pigment is showing the digestive system in particular. So anywhere close to the pupil is the area that reflects the reflexology of the digestive system. So it's where the large intestine is and the small intestine. So because of the color, it appears as though there's been issues with liver insufficiencies and possibly some pancreatic issues. So again, I would ask, has your family had any liver problems? Do you get indigestion? Is it hard? The question I like to ask is, can you identify your meal the following day? Meaning it hasn't broken down at all through the stomach, okay? I would also ask about blood sugar and if there's been a history of hypoglycemia or diabetes, perhaps in the family, and talk about enzymes. So that's what I want to talk about today is Dr. Wallach's product line to address digestion. So
Before you get there,
yes.
Before you get there, one thing that I was trying to figure out when would be the best time to mention.
Yes.
About 15 years ago, these eyes changed colors. They used to be just brown.
Okay.
So, and then, yeah, and so I don't know if that adds to, you know, what you're sharing here. And then I know I have questions afterwards as well.
Perfect. Well, I was just going to discuss that because when we see shading in the eyes, when it becomes more white, that shows there's more activity. That could be inflammation. That can also be cleansing. It's movement, okay? When we see darker shading, it's more of a stagnancy or deficiency. So sometimes when I see people who are making steps towards wellness, their eyes may actually slightly lighten because their body is trying to discharge mucus, trying to get rid of the things that are not serving it. Now, the other thing that is notable in this particular set of eyes is what appears to be a white halo developing over the top, in particular at the upper area, but you can see a portion of it starting to form elsewhere. We call that a corneal arcus, and that is a corneal sign versus an iridology sign. And ophthalmologists and optometrists are well aware of this sign. And this is indicating, it's called a cholesterol ring. So it's showing that this person may have a current issue with cholesterol or has had one. Once it comes in, it's very hard to get it out. It doesn't go away. So sometimes it can come from poor lifestyle. A lot of it's from genetics again. So I have seen a lot of people who have this sign, but it isn't necessarily symptomatic because they take care of themselves. And that's where this beautiful concept of epigenetics is. If you can look into your eyes and be reminded of how you're supposed to take care of yourself, you might be able to avoid and prevent diseases and illnesses in your later life. So Dr. Carol Geck's husband was diagnosed with pancreatitis. He had 2 brothers pass away from pancreatic issues over his years. He was diagnosed with pancreatitis at 40 years old and began a series of cleansing and supplementation. And he was given 4 years to live at 40 years old, let me tell you. He did colonics, colimas, and enemas to cleanse with hydrotherapy the lower bowel, which if you think about it, the bowel is kind of like the Mississippi River. All the lymphatic channels dump into it like little tributaries. So you can cleanse the entire body by using hydrotherapy to cleanse the bowel. He did colon cleansing, enzyme care to repair the pancreas, castor oil packs, essential oils, and guess what? He just turned 85. Okay. His brothers, he's outlived everyone in his family because they never changed their lives. So they were stuck with their genetics, right? It's kind of like people who get into astrology and say, oh, I'm just a Pisces. That's the way I am. Well, that's pretty small-minded. Actually, any of these things are to remind us that we can be better. We can be conscious and we can make better choices. So I would inquire, because of this light coming in, this lipemic diatheses is the term, which means a fat in a state of being. I would inquire about cholesterol. I would ask about liver health. And I would honestly be curious if they're having any. I would also inquire about vision issues, if there's been any cataracts or glaucoma in their family history. Okay. This is important to understand, that when you have signs of cholesterol, I find it's also signs of dehydration. What I think is, we're born with over 70% of water, so we have supple tissues. All right. As we become older and we're not taking care of ourselves, we become brittle, which means those vessels, like little hoses that have been set out in the sunshine, are starting to get brittle, maybe even shrink down and get constricted. Okay. And so circulation becomes compromised. That means that cholesterol, if there is any, will really create a blockage through those channels and pathways. So keeping the system supple is really important. Now, how do we do that? We think, oh, let's just drink a lot of water. Well, again, water is a wonderful thing, but it's not about just the quality and the quantity. We want purified water. We need to drink half of our body weight in ounces to maintain hydration. If we're working and sweating, we need to add more. Now, what makes water assimilable and absorbable? That is your electrolytes. That is your minerals. So the essential 90 from Dr. Wallach, alongside with the tangy tangerine, create optimal hydration and assimilation. Okay. Now, what I would suggest for this particular set of eyes, and I also see a little bit of a sclera mark, vein there close to the nose on the left iris in particular. I would inquire if there's been any thyroid issues in this particular person, because what happens is, when the liver becomes congested due to cholesterol, heated oils, hydrogenated fats, and sugar. Okay. We all think about fat as being the issue for the liver, but it's sugar that converts into glucose that creates fat. So that can actually create just as much of an issue for the liver. Now, if the liver is congested, all thyroid stimulating hormones cannot be filtered properly by the liver, which means an increase of TSH and an onset of what can become Hashimoto's. Okay. So when we look and see any kind of hormonal imbalances, we also want to remember to look at the liver. If the liver is congested, the hormonal system will be out of balance. Okay? That's why looking at the whole body as a vessel is so important. People in the allopathic community specialize in organ systems, which, when you have a disease, it's important, or an issue, to have a specialist look at a special situation. But when you're looking at the whole body, right, I feel like Sherlock Holmes. I'm going in as an investigator to ask the kidneys how they're functioning, the liver how they're functioning, the colon how's it functioning, and then create a wellness plan so that we can, and when you inquire, it's kind of like talking to the witnesses. You start to see a pattern. Oh, it's dehydration. Oh, it's constipation, right? Then you can start to remedy it. So what I would suggest for this iris to begin with would be a colon cleanse. If it's not had one, it's probably due for one. Dr. Jensen always suggested to do one twice a year, especially with the fall and the spring. And you can do a little maintenance cleaning in the summer and the winter, as long as it's not too hard on the system, depending on your environmental conditions. So what we really love is to work with alkalizing. So you get your essential minerals and your electrolytes to help with absorption of your water. Now you're going to need to alkalize. And some of the best options for alkalizing is, of course, lemon and lime and apple cider vinegar. And the one thing I wanted to bring here is the apple cider vinegar gummies that Dr. Wallach uses because it limits the enamel damage for the teeth. It's 500 milligrams for 2 gummies. So you can take those 2 in the morning, at lunch, and in the evening. I think multiple dosing per day is important to keep the pH of the oceans and the rivers and the streams of your planet, your body temple, alkaline. All right. Then making sure that you do proper food combining so you keep the balance. So pick a starch or a protein. Add green vegetables. Eat your fruit in the morning by itself. Okay. Now, keep your percentage of protein down around 20%, so you're 80% vegetables, and that'll keep your alkaline acid balance better. That's the 80-20 rule. They also say eat 80% full and leave the 20% for your enzymes to work. It's like putting too many jeans into a laundry and the detergent you put on the top. If you've ever done that as a housewife, you'll find that the jeans never get clean, the detergent stays on the top, and you'll see a lot of it's just inefficient. Well, the same is with food in the stomach. When you put a little less in there, and I think of detergent as like enzymes. And since all of us are living with a deficient bank account of enzymes because we've been eating raw or cooked foods predominantly, and antibiotics, preservatives, dyes, chemicals all suppress the natural enzyme function. Plus, if we're dehydrated, okay, so if we're low on our electrolytes, okay, electrolytes is potassium, it's also sodium, okay, organic sodium, not your Morton salt. This is the sodium that you can taste in your tears, that is inside of celery. That sodium makes your tissues supple, okay? That sodium is what feeds the stomach lining so that you produce hydrochloric acid properly. Now, for me, my mother passed away of pancreatic cancer just 2 years ago. I'm very much aware of enzymes and very much about eating in a manner that is keto friendly or diabetic friendly, and adding my enzymes before I eat. So just like the laundry, you put the soap into the water first, then you add the jeans. Don't overfill it, and you'll have a beautiful laundry or wash of clothes. It's the same with a meal. So the ultimate enzyme is the one that I'm really into from Dr. Wallach. Dr. Jensen was talking about it all week because it has the pancreatin in it. Okay. It has the hydrochloric in there. So it helps with the food breaking down the most, and it offers the most support for the pancreas and the gallbladder. Okay. Most of us who've had gallbladder removed too, if anyone has had that happen, they really need these enzymes because they don't have the gallbladder working for them, which will help dissolve and break down fats. Okay. So adding those enzymes, doing a colon cleanse, and if you're having any gallbladder or liver dysfunction, the gallbladder liver health tincture, or it's a bitter that Dr. Wallach at Longevity has, Dr. Ellen was saying to add it just 30 minutes before eating. So you put it in water, the tincture, it's bitter. Well, that bitter flavor tells the liver and the gallbladder that it's time to eat and start getting the juices secreted, the bile juices, so that it's preparing the system for you to bring food into it. We have to think about this as it's like a company, or a factory. There's different systems, there's different managers of those systems. How do they all communicate with each other? What do they need? And how do we come into a state of homeostasis? So the other thing I would suggest with this set of eyes is kidney health. I would suggest doing some kind of silica. Cucumbers would be really good. Watermelon juice, doing a kidney cleanse of sorts. And I would probably bet that there is a degree of candida that this body may be dealing with, which I find, we live in a world where we're surrounded by fungus, mold, and yeast. And if we eat any kinds of sugar, we feed it. If we're in an acidic state, we feed this candida. We're never going to get everything out, guys. So don't get OCD on it. I've already tried that. And it becomes a bubble where you're like, I don't even want to walk around in a field or go swimming. No, we're here to have a really rich mortal experience here on this planet. How do we do so is keeping the balance so we don't get into disease. But the best combination is the Tahibo tincture alongside of the red clover. You can do red clover tea or tincture. I believe Dr. Wallach has a perfect remedy, because when you do those two together, the Tahibo kills virus, fungus, and bacteria, while the red clover cleans it out of the blood. Okay, it's one thing to kill it off, but now you got to get it out. Okay, so those two together are really good. Dr. Ellen said 90 days of that formula 2 times a day will clear the body of fungus, okay, and candida, and give you a reset. So I'm hoping that helped with some good suggestions. And I would also say that I would also talk and ask if there's been any brain fog with this person, if they're feeling tired, confused sometimes. Sometimes when we see the corneal arcus, it has been associated with later phases when they're older with dementia. So we'd want to really make sure to keep the circulation moving to the head, okay? And so niacin is actually really good for flushing the capillaries in the back of the neck, especially. So when we see this sign, we often will suggest to take niacin and the flush kind, which I know Dr. Wallach has. And when you start to feel a little tingly, putting your head down at a 45-degree angle, and that will actually help pump that blood through the capillaries at the back of the neck. And it almost flushes the brain. It's a good way of cleaning the brain, because we can't get to it like we can our skin. I would also suggest to do skin brushing and skin care. I'm a huge fan of hydrotherapy. I'm not too shy to talk about doing the colonics and the enemas. That's always a good measure. It helps with the lymphatic system incredibly well. But outside of the body, with our largest living organ, and I know that Dr. Wallach has a new product that I'm really excited about, that is the herbal body wrap. And I know sometimes these things feel like, oh my gosh, this is just too much. How am I going to put all this onto my body and sit around for an hour? Well, let's come up with a way to make it easier. I'm all about making it easier. So this herbal body wrap, the powders and the herbs in it, when I was looking at it, I was like, oh my gosh, what if you put a 1/4 cup of that into a quart of water, poured boiling water over it, and put that into your bathtub? That's going to be your incredible detoxification bath. That's going to draw inflammation, and with the lymphatic system, especially, it helps with all those lymphatic vessels and channels that are just under the skin. And then scrub. You want to move the lymph, you got to massage it, or you got to start running, because there's no heart to pump it. So getting active. Now, I would love to ask if there's any questions that I would like to answer for you, Becca.
Yes, I do have a question. And I'm going to add myself for spotlight here and then add you back.
Yay!
So my question is, okay, you're looking at the eyes. You find these different things within the colors of the eyes. You address those, you clear them. Do the color of the eyes change or remain the same?
Well, according to research, they don't change a whole lot. The shading can change. So a little bit more lightness could come in, or a little bit more darkness. Sometimes pigments can come in. In my case, my eyes, my family also gets skin pigments. So it's like melanin. I've gotten a few pigments in my eyes. Ironically, they are in the kidney reaction field, and my father has bladder cancer or been diagnosed with it. So it runs in my family, and those pigments show me that. But for the most part, it stays the same. Having a good photograph shows you so much more of the eyes than what first meets your vision. Because when we look at each other, we think, oh, this person had brown eyes. But if you look at the eye closely, you'll see all this. It's a terrain map. It's a topographical map of all kinds of qualities of fibers. Cameras can change some things. I've had some research say, and especially the old time iridology, which that's why we love the IPA Foundation, because the International Iridology Practitioners Association is doing research globally in a scientific and practical manner to prove and disprove conjectures that were made in the early days of iridology. Because back in the early 1900s, it was used as a way, oftentimes, unfortunately, to sell people on products, to make people feel like they were sick, rather than understanding that this is a way of investing in your wellness. They were running on fear, you know. This is about, okay, we're going to run on faith, because if I can know what's going on with my body, what I've been predisposed for, and I can add the right supplements, not something that's snake oil, okay? That's why we are so grateful to have an innovator like Dr. Wallach with all of his research to be able to bring quality supplements that have been proven time and again. And he carries also incredible companies like Good Earth Herbs and Life Source Natural or Life Force. These product lines he's researched to, if he's going to endorse it, it's going to be the highest quality available. You know, and it's going to be bioidentical. So there's not synthetics involved. And unfortunately, in today's world, you're liable to get synthetics. I mean, if you're going to go to GNC, even the health food stores nowadays are full of stearic acid and all of these binders, fillers, dyes, bioengineered ingredients now too, guys. I mean, we're living in a scientific age. I love science, and I love being a biological human. We all were made to be part of this earth, okay? Not part of something that came out of a laboratory. And you think about it, like a lot of the enriched foods out there, be mindful, read your labels, because even almond milk now, some brands are enriching with synthetic folic acid, riboflavin. It's very important you get methylated folate and methylcobalamin. It's a deficiency in our world right now. Both of those are very important, because if you don't have vitamin B12 and B6 or the folate, you're not going to be able to uptake iron. If you don't uptake iron, you can't uptake oxygen. If you can't uptake oxygen, you're going to go into states of distress. So that's why these minerals, these vitamins are so important. It's not just about selling a product anymore. It's about putting the puzzle back together, because we have missing things going on due to generations now of malnutrition and disease, because a lot of things were not treated properly. You know, like Dr. Carol, when she was in the hospitals in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they were giving people drugs in high doses that are illegal now. These were our grandmothers. Okay. They were the ones carrying the eggs that are now us, right? So we've also been looking at beautiful studies of genetics, how the eye patterns are passed down. And we were looking this week at a set of eyes that gave me so much hope. It was a father who worked on his body for 3 to 5 years and consciously conceived. Him and his wife did cleansing, supplementation, and their son's eyes had reversed the genetic patterns. The son's eyes were stronger than the father's eyes. And that is the hope of epigenetics. If we can give anything to our children and the world in future for our planet, let's give them healthy genetics. Okay. We're worried about what school they're going to go in. Let's make sure we give them a womb where it's clean and it's not set up against all this putrefaction and disease. and give them the genetics that is the house for them to do great things.
Wow. Yes, I love that. Absolutely love that. Thank you so much, Dr. Cara. We are coming to the end of today's program and just want to thank you for taking the time and going through this and explaining about what can be seen in the eyes.
Yes.
And that's pretty spectacular whenever the offspring is showing stronger than the father that he came from. So that is absolutely fantastic. I love it. And she had mentioned about the methylated vitamins and folate. I'm so thankful we have the 2.5 version of the Tangy Tangerine, and the Ultimate Daily Classic, Ultimate Daily Classic has those methylated in there as well. So we are able to service a broad range of people, even ones that are told that they can't take vitamins. Well, yes, you can. That's like saying you can't breathe oxygen, right?
Exactly. Well, if you like, I'll share just very briefly. The last couple things was the personality of your set of eyes. This person is very, very hard worker, a little bit shy, has a sense of purpose and is very driven and organized and step-by-step strategy, and it also has a little bit of determination. You can't change their mind. And so we look at the strengths of everybody and we celebrate our differences. So thank you so much for letting me carry on about something that I mean, this month marks 24 years of studying iridology for myself. So it's a big month in July to celebrate.
That's fantastic. And thank you so much for ending with that, as I am going to be sharing this program with them. And that explains a lot about this person, which I absolutely love. So
yes.
Fabulous, fabulous. If I could get the co-hosts on the screen with us, thank you so much, Dr. Cara, for bringing something that you are so passionate about to the point of seeking us out at a non-health convention event because you wanted to add Dr. Wallach's formulas to your own practice because of how highly they are talked about by your mentors.
Yes.
So that just speaks volumes to the credibility of what we have here. For me, myself, I had tried so many different things and didn't get the results I was looking for. In fact, some things got worse until I found Dr. Wallach and implemented his recommendations into my life, where I am able to do what I do now and love doing it and do it with integrity. So thank you again, Dr. Cara Ringland. Let's give her
thank you.
A round of applause. We appreciate you so much. And today on our co-host panel, we have with us Albert from South Africa, who is helping to let people in. Thank you, Albert. We have Sherry, who is part of the tech crew and helping to set everything up and making sure things continue. We have Marilyn, who, folks, if you want to see what's being said and you can't take notes fast enough, you really want to be in this live Zoom on dailywithdoc.zoom.com, Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time, because Marilyn does a fantastic job at doing the dictation and putting notes in the chat for us. We have Ruth Ellen Sanchez, who is our executive production manager. She helps keep us organized and making sure that everything goes smoothly. We have AJ, who is responsible for help. He's blocking his. Did you see that? He's blocking his. Yeah. Who is responsible for getting us out onto the different platforms and letting this message be heard even broader and reaching more places. So thank you, AJ, for that. And as the producer of this program, my name is Becca Dukes. I'm also the Director of Student Services for the Institute of Holistic Health and a leader within the Longevity Company as the independent associate. Folks, we're not here just to make a buck. We're here and we dedicate our time because we believe in the mission. We believe that the message needs to be heard because, folks, people are getting sicker and sicker. They're depending on a program that is keeping them sick.
Mm-hmm.
It's called sick management. Well, folks, as you heard today, as you hear on all of our programs, there is hope. You do not have to stay in a sick management state. Your body is an amazing creation. And when given the right ingredients, the right raw ingredients, it is able to take that, absorb it, and create healthier cells. And when you have healthier cells creating, what's going to happen? You're going to push out the unhealthy and have a more vibrant life,
Absolutely.
a healthier. And we invite you to join us on that. So get back with the person that shared this program with you. Again, if there's no one to thank, give our team a call at 800-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. Until next time, bye for now.
Thank you.
This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences, and the individual results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to have a founding father of the science of epigenetics guiding us with the best options to obtain or maintain optimal health, Dr. Joel Wallach.